Good morning, everyone. We're live on the Falcons Podcast on YouTube, but we want to bring in our Facebook groups as well. So we're going to bring in Atlanta Falcons on SI and Scott Kennedy Sports. I did change the name to Atlanta Falcons on SI on the Facebook groups because that's where we are now. It is still allfalcons.com, still find us, but it's also falconsi.com, which is one of the newer moves over the summer. And come on, connect. There we go. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast. It is Wednesday, July 10th. So we are 2 weeks away from the opening of training camp for Atlanta Falcons football. Hopefully it'll cool off a little bit, but I'm not holding my breath for that. It's the dog days of summer. We know that. So hopefully your air conditioning is working well. We go live every Monday and Wednesday. And once we get into August and the preseason, we'll add Fridays back to the docket as well. We go live at 8:30. One of the reasons we go live is because we like having the conversations with y'all. So one of the things I want to get into today, the topic of the show, knowing that training camp was on the way, I titled it 5 Atlanta Falcons on the Roster Bubble. And these are veterans, not just, young guys that have gotten signed and are back-end roster fillers that haven't even played it down. But, who are 5 veterans that are on the roster bubble? And we'll get into that. I want to say hello to some of the folks that have come in here nice and early. Like Mitchell Angeloni says, we're here. Rise up, baby. Good to see you, Mitchell. It's a good-looking mugshot you got there. Welcome in. John Harrell, always good to see you as well. One of our OGs says, good morning, Scott and the Falcons family. That's all, y'all. Michael Ronquillo, the sunrise, getting us started today. Appreciate you, Ronk. He's out in Arizona, so I know he's up bright and early. Jordan Brown said, Mr. Kennedy, I don't know if you guys can hear this. I'm just going to play this just for fun. I'm going to turn up my speakers and I'm going to crank this up. But I combined the Mr. Kennedy entrance from WWF with POD's boom. And I probably am going to embarrass my son with this one day as his walk-up music. Let me know if you can hear this.
Now that number 4.
Yeah, that's a little over the top. That's how I should come in, right? That should be my entrance music. I'll get flagged by YouTube every time, but yeah, that works out. That works out well. So hopefully you could hear that. Let me know if you could. Otherwise, Scott, what are you doing? I'll know after the fact. I'll have to cut it out. But I have fun every time I hear a new song. I'm like, that'd be a good walk-up music. And considering I'm an old metalhead, I've got lots of those that fit in. So just a little fun today. Greg Elrod, he's here as well. Good to see you, Greg. And Harry Marshall Wood, he says, yeah, live. If only it wasn't time to go wake up the 2-year-old. Let him sleep. Let the 2-year-old sleep. Mark Schrader, he's in here early as well. He says, good morning, Scott. Good morning, too. He's got the coffee emojis. I'll drink to that. I got my Lion coffee going this morning. Greg Elrod, good to see you as well, my friend. Brad Clark over on Facebook. Third party action says, let's go, fam. Doing he's got the muscle up going over there. I was good at dips, man. I'm terrible at pull-ups. Sean Stassi, have a blessed day, everyone. Ready for September. I'm actually ready for some August. I'm ready for some preseason football this year. There's a lot of new faces that we're going to see, and hopefully there's enough new faces that'll be on the 2 deep, like most of the rookies, that hopefully we'll get to see a lot of them during the preseason this year. Good morning, Troy. Hope you're doing well. Jordan says he heard it partially. Okay. Robbie Red, good to see you. A-Town for life as well. Top of the morning, Dirty Birds. Who else is ready for preseason? Exactly. I'm ready for some preseason. I want to see these rooks. I want to see Darnell Mooney. I want to see Rondale Moore. We're not going to see any Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't think. I don't want to see Kirk Cousins until week 1. He's an old vet who we probably wouldn't see anyway, let alone coming off an injury. I don't really want to see him taking live bullets until it's time to be live. But I would like to see Michael Penix Jr. Like to see a lot of him. Chris Walker, good morning. Good to see you. Jamal D, he says, yo, right back at you. Another wrestling old Scott Hall. May he rest in peace. Hey, yo. Brandon Eason, good morning, and rise up to you as well. A-Town says he wants to see Casey Washington. Killing it. That was a phrase. That was one of the battlefield promotion guys who went from field 2 to field 1 during the week, during the course of minicamp and OTAs. So yeah, let's get a good look there as well. Jordan Brown says, I want to see Rook Arohoro. Him and Zach Harrison might be a nasty duo. Throw in Brandon Dorlus in there too. Braylon Trice. There's a lot of young talent. I still think of Taquan Graham as a young guy. What's he in now? His fourth year? Was he in that first draft class with Kyle Pitts in his fourth year? Played really well. Injured. Started coming on into last year. So yeah, this would be his fourth year. So I'm a big Taquan Graham believer on this one. And then big Zion Logue. There's definitely some rookies. JD Bertrand, the new Captain America. Get a look at him as well. Robbie asked, are you going to training camp this season? I'll probably go to some. I don't know how much that I will go to this year. I'll go to some, but I don't go every single day. Daniel Flick will be down for us, and he'll go to, if not all of them, then most of them. He comes in. He was in town for mini camps and OTAs, and for watching practice, training camps a hell of a lot more fun than mini camps and OTAs, because they're actually in pads. They're actually doing something. You can actually learn something. So we'll see. We'll see on that one. So said most of our hellos. If I missed you, I apologize. Go ahead and hit that share and that like button if you get a chance. It helps reach more Falcons fans right now and helps juice that algorithm. We had a lot of after the fact viewers, almost 2,000 viewers watched on demand on YouTube on Monday's show. So leave a comment, say hello if you come in after the fact. Always like saying hello. Like I said, just be respectful. There's some kind of off the wall comments that show up in there, but that's okay. And we can start here with Jamal. On I've got it 5 Atlanta Falcons on the roster bubble, and when I said that, I did mean veterans. Let me bring up my notes here. The one I started with, I probably should have started with Richie Grant, and I will since Jamal's got him going right here. But the one I'll start with Richie Grant. Richie Grant was a second-round pick as a safety, which is a premium pick for a non-premium position. If you're looking at safety, if you're looking at guard, center, tight end, running back, if you take one of those guys in the second round, you're expecting them to be pretty much instant starters. You want them to be impact players right away. Richie Grant didn't play much as a rookie, played more as a second-year guy. You're hoping to see him take that leap in the third year, and frankly, I think he regressed in his third year. We can blame coaching and whatnot, however you want to on the offensive side of the ball. I think there was a combination of scheme, quarterback fits that I never ever just blame one entity. I'm not blaming Ryan Nielsen. I'm not blaming Jerry Gray. I feel like the Falcons' coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball was pretty good. Richie Grant just hasn't gotten it done. He ended up losing his snaps to DeMarco Helms, rookie out of Alabama towards the end of last year. In weeks 14, 15, and 16, after starting the previous games, in week 14, he had 7 snaps. Week 15, he had 27. And in week 16, he had 31 as the Falcons started going to more 3 safety looks because, frankly, they were short on cornerbacks. They had to go to safeties. And Richie just hasn't played very well. On top of that, he's one of the more expensive guys out there. There's not a lot of places. Terry Fontenot's done most of the trimming of the fat from the contracts on this team, that there's not a lot of places to save money right now without doing some restructures. Richie Grant is one of those guys. He is going to make just under $4 million, and he's got just under $1 million in dead cap. So if Richie Grant is gone, the Atlanta Falcons save $3 million in cap space, and you'd replace him as a third or fourth safety with a league minimum type of guy, which would be in the million range. So you'd still save plenty of money on that. So I think Richie Grant is on the bubble for making this team. As Jamal, I agree. He says second round pay is not worth it. Not when it's not guaranteed anymore. In the fourth year of that contract, it's different than the first rounders whose option is fully guaranteed. You get a fourth year option, but it's a club option and it's not guaranteed. So he has, a quarter of his contract would be dead cap. So I think Richie Grant is, I think he's on the bubble. And despite what Raheem Morris, talked well about him, he's not going to talk bad about anybody. I think Richie Grant is definitely Definitely on the bubble. James Harp says, morning fanatics. Oh, rise up. Good to see you, James. Steelers Nation in Australia says Yin's keen for week 1. Yes. And welcome in, Steelers Nation in Australia. It's going to be the Steelers have some really interesting, because I think their week 2 game is against Denver. So the Steelers have, maybe it's week 3, because that's when we're doing the meet and greet out in Denver for Mile High Huddle. There's some really interesting storylines coming right off the bat with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, if whoever's watched this show, for any given time, and if you're watching on July 10th, you're probably with us year round. We're about as far from the season as we're going to get. We're getting closer and closer, and it is week 2. Thank you, Steelers Nation. With Arthur Smith, he signed 5 former Falcons up there, including Cordero Patterson, who is beloved here in Atlanta. Find me an Atlanta Falcons fan that has something bad to say about Cordero Patterson, and I'll find you somebody who's just miserable in life. With Arthur Smith coming back, Cordero Patterson coming back, he'll get a cheer. He'll absolutely get a cheer. Then there's some other guys that were kind of roster bubble guys that didn't play nearly as much. Scotty Miller's up there. I think one of the tight ends ended up there also. I don't remember which one off the top of my head. Wasn't Jonnu Smith. Doesn't matter. Yes, I think everybody here is ready for week 1, period, because the Atlanta Falcons expectations are higher than usual. This isn't a franchise that goes into the season, oh, we're Super Bowl contenders, we're the best. No, we're just like, all right, let's not suck. That would be a step in the right direction. But I think this year, with the roster that's been assembled, with the money that's put into the quarterback spot, I think that Atlanta Falcons fans' expectations are high. They're thinking 10 wins, maybe 11 wins, somewhere in that neighborhood. The schedule isn't that bad. And then you come in, and Arthur Smith didn't make a lot of fans here in Atlanta. He was surly with a very easy media group. I think I wrote at the beginning, during his second season, I wrote a story and I titled it. In fact, actually, there's a video on here that his petulant child act is wearing thin. He hasn't earned it. He hasn't won enough games to be acting like such an ass and belittling, again, what is a very friendly media group. And I mean that with love. I love the guys here and ladies here that are in the press group, but they're not asking hard questions of Arthur Smith. So Atlanta Falcons fans, have the utmost respect for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, really want to lay it on Arthur Smith. And I'm also very interested in seeing Arthur Smith with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, knowing that could have been the setup in Atlanta. You don't normally get to see that. I did the podcast about that last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, just talking about, normally you're like, okay, what does Dallas Turner do? Or what if they had gone with JJ McCarthy? And all these what ifs, you don't really know what it would have looked like because systems are different. The surrounding cast is different. But knowing what Russell Wilson and or Justin Fields playing for Arthur Smith would look like, we actually get to see that hypothetical play out, which to me is very, very interesting. So yes, Taylor's Neeson, good day to you as well. So appreciate you coming in. And but yes, we're ready for week 1 here in Atlanta for more than one reason. And the storyline surrounding week 1 will make it even that much more fun. If this was week 7 or 8 and Falcons fans had lost some of their, early momentum and excitement, what I'm trying to say is usually when the Steelers are in Atlanta, it's about half full of Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I don't think that's going to be the case. The Falcons have been playing pretty well. They did play pretty well at home under Arthur Smith, and I think they'll have a legit home field advantage, which isn't always the case with some of the blue blood, especially East Coast teams in Atlanta, because it's such a transient town, and there's so many people that are from other places that hold on to their favorite teams when they come in. So on that, and Steeler says, have you said you like that yet? No, don't think I've said that one. Let me see here. So was this was peerless. Van Jefferson, yep, I think he ended up in Pittsburgh. Van Jefferson wasn't very good here. Got a lot of snaps. Felipe Franks, Jay, to the Steelers. Last I saw Felipe, he actually had a tryout with the Broncos. So I don't know where he is right now. And as Jeff says, yes, Arthur Smith is not going to get a warm reception. I think he did some good things here in Atlanta. I don't think it was all bad. But 3 straight 7-10 seasons. From here on out, you will see me right. If I'm writing about the pick, I call the number 8 pick the Arthur Smith commemorative draft pick is now the number 8 pick in the NFL draft after the Falcons had it 3 years in a row. That's the Arthur Smith commemorative pick, number 8 in the draft. So on that note, let me see what else is on your mind here before we move on a little bit. And yeah, talking about this, check the prices for Steelers games. They are ridiculous. And Jeff, maybe there will be more Steelers fans. How many of the Atlanta Falcons season ticket holders are using those for an investment, especially the lower bowl? I could do a whole show about Arthur Blank screwing up the home field advantage for his teams by with the overpricing. And it's not just Arthur Blank, it's just that Atlanta sports fans, we haven't had the success to build the loyalty through the years where you've got 100-year wait for Green Bay Packers tickets where frankly, no offense to Green Bay, but 2 million people from the Northeast aren't moving to Wisconsin. They do move to the South, and from the Midwest, they do move here, and you end up having Chicago Bears fans and New York Giants fans and Pittsburgh Steelers fans all in your lower bowl every time you play them. On that note, Jamal's just leading me here. I'm going to get to Avery Williams because I do have Avery Williams on the roster bubble as well. The first guy that I came up with, because I don't even know if he's on the bubble, he's kind of on the outside looking in, was D'Angelo Malone, edge rusher. He was in that first draft class as well. Second draft class because he was drafted in the 3rd round after Arnold Ebiketie. He went from having several decent amount, like over 100 defensive snaps as a rookie to 2. He had 2 defensive snaps last year. Now, Ryan Nielsen ran basically a 4-man front where you'd see the big defensive linemen, Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, Taquan Graham, Zach Harrison, Calais Campbell, would be a 3-man front with a stand-up edge and Bud Dupree. So Ebiketie didn't get a ton of reps either, but him and Lorenzo Carter were the next guys in. And if they were going in a pass rush situation, you'd see Ebiketie and Lorenzo Carter as 2 edges or Bud Dupree, and there wasn't much room for a 4th edge. Now, I'm still of the opinion the Atlanta Falcons' strength is on the defensive line outside of the edge group. So if I don't have any, really difference-making edge groups, Ebiketie, you're hoping to make that next step. You draft Braylon Trice, but he's a 3rd-round rookie. I'm not expecting him to come in and get 12 sacks. Lorenzo Carter is basically a average pro, journeyman type, can stay in the league a long time and make a lot of money. Good for him, but he's not really a difference maker. But you're deep. You're deep on the defensive line, apologies. I still think we're going to see something similar to the way it was set up last year, where you're going to have big fronts. You've got speed at the linebacker position and Troy Anderson and Caden Ellis. Use those guys. So I still think the edge group is going to be underrepresented in overall snaps, and I think D'Angelo Malone's toast. He offers some on special teams, but he's not a special teams demon. And what he does have going for him, and this isn't necessarily the greatest thing, you're not playing, but you're not very expensive. D'Angelo Malone, again, 2 defensive snaps last year. He's only on $1.4 million as a 3rd-round guy in his 3rd year of his contract. His dead cap is just a shade under $500K, so the Falcons save about $1 million for moving on from him. So I think D'Angelo Malone is the second guy. I think Richie Grant's on the bubble. He was in the first pick. This will be his 4th. He was in the Kyle Pitts draft in 2021. D'Angelo Malone was a third-round pick in the 2022 draft. 2 snaps last year. I think D'Angelo Malone is in trouble. Let me check out some of the other comments here. You like the Arthur Smith commemorative pick. I looked up commemorative to make sure that was the right thing. I don't want to say memorial. He didn't die. But commemorative, yeah. Number 8, 3 years in a row. Now, that was one of the points I meant to make on Monday. You know, the Falcons have one of the number 4 team of players that are under 25 years old. Number 4. Well, when you've got 4 straight years of top 10 picks, 4, 8, 8, 8. Sounds like a phone number. 4 in a row, you should have some pretty good young players. And they do. The Falcons do. And then you've got the offensive line. Now you've got the quarterback. You've got the maestro to come in and stir things up. But as long as you're not giving those away, not only should you have, 4, 8, 8, and 8, but you should also be picking really high in the second round. Now, none of those players, I don't think any of those showed up because second round pick, Richie Grant was on top of that. Richie Grant's older. He came into the league at 24, 25 years old. So it's time. There's not a lot of upside left there on Richie Grant. So who were the second round picks? First year was Richie Grant. Next year was Arnold Ebiketie. Last year was Matthew Bergeron, and he was on that list. Ebiketie is now over 20. It's 25 or older now. And this year you're looking at Ruka Rohiro. So, and those were all top 40 picks. Top 40 picks in there. One had hit on Mitchell. Appreciate you coming in, Mitchell. But he says Ebiketie, Zach Harrison, and Braylon Trice will be a force. I believe. I have faith in them for sure. Ebiketie did exactly what you would want him to do. His progression has been good. Rookie showed a couple flashes. He had some pressures, but didn't quite get there. And again, he wasn't the number 1 edge in a system that really only started 1 edge in Bud Dupree. But he had some decent numbers. His pressure rate was good. He had 6 sacks, I believe, despite not rushing the passer a ton. His overall opportunities were semi-limited. Now, get him more opportunities. Let's see if the production goes with it. I think just safe to say we'd like to see Ebiketie into the double digits this year. Go from 6 last year with limited snaps, getting more snaps, more production, get up into 10. I think that would be the next step that we're hoping to see Ebiketie make. Zach Harrison, what did he have? 3 sacks in the last 4 games last year. Really started coming on. Big defensive end type. And then Braylon Trice. We'll see on Trice. I saw him mocked. When we started checking out mocks the first time, I started looking at those right around Thanksgiving. Braylon Trice was mocked in the first round in those first groups. I think they had the Colts taking them, who ended up taking Leatu Latu. So Trice has some potential. He is a player. I see him standing up there with some of those MVP trophies. He is a player. So we'll see. Appreciate you. Appreciate the support, Mitchell. Keeping the lights on, keeping my forehead nice and shiny. And yeah, Harry, I didn't realize he only had 2 snaps. Yeah, he was active most of the games. He was a special teams player. Let me see if I still have his card up. I think I might have hidden it, but he was active, I think, all but 2 games, D'Angelo Malone, but he didn't get any he had 2 defensive snaps, 1 in one game, 1 in the other game. And that was it for D'Angelo Malone. So I think bubble is I think he's on the outside looking. I think Richie Grant's on the bubble. I think he's got a chance. I think D'Angelo Malone's in pretty big trouble. Third guy I have on this list. Let me see here. The third guy I have on this list is Taylor Heinicke. About the quarterback. We've talked about this a lot, and it's through no fault of his own. And frankly, there's not a lot of cost savings left. If you move on from Taylor Heinicke, you basically get $1 million back because he already gave back his money when they redid his contract. It's like when you've got a salary cap and you've got a dead cap number, that gives the team options. And you go to that player and say, listen, if you're going to stay on the team, we need you to take less money or we're going to cut you. He doesn't have any guaranteed money. So I think he got like another $1 million in signing bonus to redo that deal. Got $1 million to re-sign his contract. And I think it knocked his number down. don't think it was 9. I think it was 7. But from 7 down to 4. So he would have had almost $4 million total savings. The Falcons gave up $1 million of that back in February before free agency to sign him as an insurance policy. But they've already recouped the savings from his $3 million of that savings when they redid his contract. Now they would just save 1. So you're not saving a ton of money, but and Raheem Morris has said he's an elite level backup. Okay, fine. But is he an elite level third stringer? Isn't he still a little pricey for a third string quarterback? Isn't he a little too good, frankly, for a third string quarterback? Scott, you can't have too many quarterbacks. All right, if he's happy being a third team guy, so be it. He's well paid for it. He's home. He's from the Atlanta area. But if he wants a chance to go out and play somewhere else, I think he'd want to be somewhere else. He is a really good team player. No problem there. I'm not worried about that in the locker room or anything. But if he wants the opportunity to take live snaps, I don't want him in Atlanta. I don't want him taking a single snap away from Michael Penix in preseason. In training camp, I want Michael Penix taking every snap that Kirk Cousins doesn't with the 1s and 2s. You drafted Michael Penix to develop. He's not going to develop as a third team guy. He will develop with the second team guys, taking all of the second team reps. I do not want Taylor Heinicke taking a single snap away from Michael Penix Jr. So does that mean he moves on? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe not. But I would think competitively he'd like to still play, and that would probably need to be somewhere else. So I included Taylor Heinicke in this list, and again, he's on 4-5 right now, and you've already recouped again most of the money from his 2-year deal by re-signing him to a lower salary, and so you would just get 3 in dead, so you just get $1.2 million back if you moved on from him. And JB says, I don't see a point in Taylor Heinicke at this point. Yeah, we saw Taylor Heinicke several times last year, and again, that was with Arthur Smith, so it's hard to judge. Taylor Heinicke's worst games of his career, for the most part, were as Atlanta Falcons under Arthur Smith. That might not be a coincidence. He's better than he showed last year, but if something happens to Kirk Cousins, who do y'all want to see in the game? You want to see Taylor Heinicke? Honestly, no. I want to see that 24-year-old top 10 pick. That's who I want to see. Well, he's not ready. Well, get him ready. I mean, if he's not ready at 24, yes, it'd be better if he could season for a year and then he'll be better as a 25-year-old, but he will get better faster by playing. And I want that 24-year-old top 10 pick in the game if there's not a better option out there like a veteran Kirk Cousins. So, if something happens to Kirk Cousins, I want Michael Penix Jr. in there. And Jeff says, Heinicke trade for a 6th-round pick prediction. And that's what I was thinking. Why are you doing this? Why are you re-signing and giving yourself an extra $1 million of dead cap with Taylor Heinicke? $1 million for a 6th-round pick is about right. That would actually be about right. And Harry says, Taylor to the Steelers. He's calling it now. Well, you talk about this. If our Steelers friend is still in here, Taylor to the Steelers isn't that off the wall. They've got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, right? You know how much longer those guys are under contract? Let's see. If we start in August, September, October, November, December, January, February, 7 months. They're free agents. Neither one of those guys are under contract anymore. They're under 1-year deals or the last year of their current deal. So the Steelers aren't sure what they've got 2 tryouts right now with Justin Fields. Well, remember last year it was like, oh, if you trade for Justin Fields, you're going to have to pick up his 5th-year option. Why? No, you don't. That's ridiculous. The Steelers didn't, because you wouldn't do that. So, yeah, Steelers is still here. Good. He knows. Yeah. The Steelers are trying out Russell Wilson. If he plays right, you sign him again. Except this time you won't have the benefit of the Broncos picking up the tab. You'll actually have to pay him. So Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. I think the Broncos are paying him what, $50 million this year, and the Steelers are paying him whatever the league minimum is, 1.5, 2, somewhere in that. So yeah, that's not a bad way to go. The fourth guy on this list, as we roll right along, already got mentioned. Let me see here. There was some talk, but it wasn't quite the same because I think it's right here. It's JB. He says Avery Williams and Ray McCloud returning kicks could be deadly. All right. Could be, and we'll have to see. Are you going to keep 2 return specialists? Now, Ray is also getting a lot of work in the slot, so he's got a job. If Avery Williams gets the job as a primary punt return man, and then one of 2, we're not really sure. I haven't watched much of the how the new kickoffs are going to work. I didn't watch any USFL, UFL, so I don't really know. Do you send 2 guys back there? How important is it which 2? Could Jace McClellan fill that role? Could a 5th string wide receiver fill that role? Defensive back, is it someone who's also doing some other things? Right now, Avery Williams, he got a lot of snaps in 2022. I think he was in double-digit snaps. I wrote it down. He was in double-digit snaps on offense 6 times in 2022 as a gadget, as a third, the running back 3/4, depending on where Cordell Patterson was. And, he'd line up in the slot as well. He's not a slot receiver, and the Falcons are deeper at receiver than they were, so he's not going to be there. And is he going to beat out Jace McClellan for that 3rd spot, who the Falcons just drafted? Now, they have cut a 6th-round pick. Was it Justin Schaefer, the offensive lineman? He was drafted and then cut right away and re-signed to the practice squad. That doesn't happen very often, though. Most guys that get drafted make the team. Is Avery Williams going to be running back 3 on this team? Probably not. Probably not. He's definitely not a defensive back. So if he's not the primary punt returner, does Avery Williams have a spot on this team? With Ray McCloud there, who can also contribute to the wide receiver. Is it good enough to say, okay, you are going to be our kickoff returner too? Is that a guy you keep on the 53? And frankly, if Avery Williams becomes a free agent, if he is cut, he's going to get nabbed. He's not going to get re-signed to the practice squad as long as he's healthy. He's still coming on. We don't know for sure since he's coming off that knee injury how good he's going to be, but someone will sign him. I think with Ray McCloud's ability to be a receiver, Avery Williams' roster spot's in trouble, because I don't think he's going to for sure win the punt return duties. How important would you keep a guy for one of 2 kickoff return duties? I don't know that you would. You might. But I think his roster spot is a little bit in jeopardy on that one. But I agree that Avery Williams and Ray McCloud on returning kicks would be a nice weapon. But is that a luxury you can afford? I'm not positive on that one. I'm just not. JB says Avery Williams was a quarterback at one time, right? Corner. Yes, but he was an All-American as a kick returner, and he was drafted in the 5th round as a kick returner. And he was a corner as a rookie. This is how bad the team was in 2022, that he was in the slot, the nickel slot, covering CeeDee Lamb when the Dallas Cowboys hung 40 on the Falcons. And he was so good at corner that they moved him to running back, JB. So, no, Avery Williams is not an NFL corner. He's just not. And yeah, there's 2 returners back, but would you, my point on this, Michael, thank you. Would you keep a guy just to return kicks if he's not also the punt returner? I just don't think so. And I don't know that he's going to have a role. I don't think he's going to get any offensive snaps this year. You don't want him taking any defensive snaps. And I just don't think he's going to get enough offensive snaps to justify a roster spot. That said, I think Ray makes this team as a receiver / I can also return kicks. I think Avery Williams can still win the primary punt return job. He led the league in yardage in 2022 before he hurt his knee in 2023. He is an elite punt returner. So I'm not saying, again, that's why it's bubble watch here. If I think D'Angelo's out, I think Richie Grant is leaning out. I think Taylor's on the bubble. I think Avery Williams is on the bubble. So that's where I am on those guys. Jordan said he was there. Roy, glad you're here too. And Jamal says, I'm going to miss Avery. If he didn't get hurt, he'd have a solid spot. If he doesn't get hurt, is Ray McLeod here? That's one of the other questions. So that will be one of the good camp battles to see how it comes out. And that's why I say bubble. I'm not cutting these guys. Not that I'm cutting them anyway. You'll know what I'm saying here. I think D'Angelo Malone's in trouble, but I think Avery's in a battle. He's in a battle for sure. Keith and Ellen Johnson always coming with the stars, enjoying the show. Can't wait for camp to start. Looking forward to it for sure. The final two guys on here, and I cheated on one of them. I could look at some of the receivers, but the Josh Ali on that list, or some of the back end receivers, but they haven't made huge contributions. But I cheated on this one a little bit, but I'm going to add two guys, which is also a cheat. Was Eddie Goldman is still on this roster. The legend of Eddie Goldman. He's retired twice already. No guaranteed money. I think whatever dead cap they had to eat with him retiring has already been done. And actually, because he retired, you don't actually have to eat dead cap. But LaCale London and Eddie Goldman. The Atlanta Falcons drafted 3 big defensive linemen. You've already got Taquan Graham. You've already got Zach Harrison. David Onyemata's not going anywhere. Grady Jarrett's not going anywhere. Zach Harrison's not going anywhere. Taquan Graham, I think he's too good to be on the bubble. Now I've got Dorless. I've got Zion Logue, and I've got Ruka Rohuro. I've got 7 big defensive linemen before I start talking about Eddie Goldman and LaCale London. So, and Kentavious Street, Jamal. Yep. So I think one of those. Why did they even bring Jamal back? Because there's JB asked, why do they even bring Eddie Goldman back? Because he's a good player when he wants to be, and it doesn't cost him anything. So they cut him. It's a no risk. It's a 0 risk proposition for the Atlanta Falcons to have him in camp. So that's the main reason on that one. But I think, if you're looking at LaCale London, Kentavious Street, and Eddie Goldman, there might be one spot there. You're going to keep 8 big defensive linemen? Maybe. You might, but that's a long shot for me, and I don't think you're cutting any of your 3 rookies with Zion Logue. It's definitely not going to be Rohuro or Brandon Dorless. So Zion Logue would be a candidate on there. I love Taquan Graham. Maybe I'm just seeing things out there, and he's on the bubble. But right now, if you look at our lad's depth chart, he's listed 3rd team behind Rohuro and someone else. And I think Taquan Graham's better than that. I'm a big fan there. So I think when you're looking at LaCale London, played a decent amount of snaps and did a good job. So he won't be out of work long either. He did a good job. Kind of like Amir Abdullah? Or is that the running back? I always get him confused. Abdullah Anderson. Abdullah Anderson, who came in off, I think, the Chicago Bears scrap heap and did a really good job for the Falcons, and he got another job. LaCale London can be that guy. He played well last year. Terry Fontenot has done a really good job of finding 300-pound guys to come in and do a job for cheap money. They've done a great job at that. There's not enough roster spots to go around when the Falcons just dumped 3 draft picks on their interior line and already have David Onyemata and Grady Jarrett. So those were my 5 on the bubble. The 5th one was a position group, but D'Angelo Malone, Richie Grant, Taylor Heinicke, Avery Williams for me are all on the bubble fighting for roster spots at training camp this year. And then and it might not even be up to them. With Taylor Heinicke, it just might be we're moving on. You could be playing great, but we've got $100 million into that guy, and we got a top 10 pick into that guy. Sorry. And that's happened to him before. And then the position group with Eddie Goldman, LaCale London, Kentavious Street, one of those guys maybe sticks, but there's no way that all 3 of them are going to be around. And maybe you can get one of them back on the practice squad because they're good players. Won't be Eddie. Eddie's not coming out of retirement to be on a practice squad. That's for sure. So on that note, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you have a great day. I appreciate you coming in. Keith and Ellen Johnson, thank you for the stars. Mitchell Angeloni, thank you for the stars, my friend. And Jordan coming in on this. The prices are probably high on season tickets and stuff because of the extra, how many is that? $500 million each team has to pay for the NFL Sunday ticket scandal. Oops, that's a different story on that. I'm surprised that they actually had the balls to talk about the anti-competitive monopoly that the NFL has in all of their deals. Didn't do the USFL any good in the 80s, though, did it? On that note, we're going to get out of here. Appreciate you checking in. Steelers fan, thanks for being here. JB, all of y'all, Chris, thanks, everybody. Y'all have a great day. Leave me a comment after the fact. Love to hear from you. On that note, we will see you on Monday. Y'all have a hell of the rest of your week. We'll see you next time.